What's up, guys? I got Jake Hagopian with me, a legend in this building. We're gonna do a little talk in Tulsa. We'll head down this ramp, and I feel like everyone in this building knows who you are by this point. Like I say you're a legend in this building, but I want to take it way back to start as little Jake and how you got into racing, because you're a third generation racer?
So not quite. My dad raced, but my grandpa owned midgets.
Okay.
He never raced himself.
Yep.
So back when he was a kid in the 40s, there was Kearney Bowl Raceway in Fresno, and his older brother would take him, and they were just poor Armenian people. And my grandpa was like, one day when I have money, like I want to have a race car.
Yep.
So he never ran one, but that's how he got into racing, and my dad got into racing at the same time. He was right out of high school, and my grandpa bought midgets, and my dad bought a micro, and they never really raced together.
Okay.
But that's kind of how like the racing thing happened. Yeah.
So then you got started. You started in junior sprints when you were a little guy.
Yeah.
Or how did you get rolling?
So junior sprints got going in the mid '90s, and they were doing it, but it wasn't really taking off.
Yep.
So my first year was '97, and we were racing against like 2 or 3 cars, and they were only running at the NMMA tracks. So my dad went to Plaza Park and said, "Hey, we want to run this class over here. Like, how can we get it going?" And they said, "If you get us 10, 12 cars a night, like we can have a class." So my dad started building junior sprints, and the next year we had like 15, and the year after that we had 30 of them. And
wow.
like, you can go down the list: the Selzies, Facenos, Corey Eliason, the Swanson brothers. Like, all of us were part of that era.
Yeah, that's cool. So California definitely blown up in the micro scene. I think chassis builders before you.
Yeah.
You guys kind of got going with D1. But when did you feel like the California scene kind of blew up and got as big as it is now?
Honestly, like, it's always been competitive, and I think like you take like a guy like Stan Yockey, like he was the king of micros, you know, and Kiwi Alexander, and like the brands got built around those guys' success, and that's where like we got 2 tracks that are 20 minutes from each other, Fridays and Saturdays, so like
Yep.
the competition just keeps getting upticked because the manufacturers are racing each other.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's where the California like strength comes from. Is there's like 4 manufacturers, 5 manufacturers within 30 minutes of each other, and we got 2 racetracks, and like it's just, there's like guys that were race car drivers that turn into specialists, and then they turn into experts, and then they're professionals, and they got businesses, and like it just keeps upping the ante.
Yeah, that's cool. So before you guys started Driven in D1, you were obviously racing.
Yep.
I feel like maybe nationally people don't kind of know that part of your career.
Yep.
Just take me kind of through the earlier stages of your career, and maybe did you race the shootout before you had Driven, or was that just strictly after you came out here
No, man, like
to race?
my dad only wanted to race at Plaza Park. Like, he didn't really want to race a lot. So, not that he didn't want to race a lot, but I didn't really start going out of state to race till I was an adult paying for it myself.
Okay.
So my first shootout, I think it was the 2014 year. I think it's the year that Frank won his Outlaw, Frank Flood. And so we ran that one, and then I think I took a year off, and then I bought Driven out from my old man at the end of 15, and that's when, you know, the shootout became a thing. And then my dad passed away the next year in 16, and so we kind of made a family decision that we were going to stay home the next year. And so I think it's the year that Christopher Bell won. We were at home and we were watching, and I'm like, dang, we should have gone. And my wife's like, let's go. So we flew out here and we caught the mains. Corey Day won his restrictor driller, and I'm like, I was like, dude, I had a tear in my eye because Corey won, because I was so proud of him. And I'm like, I love this feeling. Like, I have to chase this feeling. So since then, I've just been chasing it.
That's crazy. Okay, so the next year you come out here and you get your first win that year?
No, we came back. Well, yeah, I guess, you know, the whole tire thing.
Okay,
So at that time, like, we ran second in A class, and we're starting up front in the Outlaw deal, and I'm sitting in staging, and they're like, hey, like, they're talking about DQ in the winter, and I'm like, dude, I don't care. Like, let's go win this one, you know? And we take the lead on lap 47 down here in 1 and 2, and I swear to God, I led 2 laps. Like, it had to have been 2 laps, and the yellow came out.
Yep.
And yeah, man, like, they put me back a spot, and I tried to throw a big slider on the restart, and it didn't work, and it all fell apart. And dude, like I left here, like, dude, this place just keeps taking things from me. Like, my dad died when I was here. Now I almost win an outlaw driller, and like I can remember taking the lead and coming off of 2, like, holy crap, I'm gonna win the shootout. Like, this is all I need. Like, I could retire right now and I'll be happy. And the yellow came out and they took it away, and it's like, I don't know, like that's how things happen in life. Like if you want something bad enough and it gets taken away from you, like you just keep digging. So 2 weeks later, I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I get a text like, hey, you're the winner of the shootout, congratulations. And I'm like, that's not how I want to win.
Right.
And like I jump on Facebook and it's already like half of the world is like, congratulations, that's awesome. And then the other half of the world's like, it doesn't count. You're working in the shadows. You did this. And I'm like, I'm sitting at home with my kids having dinner. Like I've got nothing to do with this. And so, my name's on the banner, but I'm like, that's not real. Like that's never how I envisioned what I was trying to do, and it's, so when we won the second one, but the first real one, like, dude, if you could bottle that feeling, like, dude, I could sell it all day long. Like it's so amazing. Like it's crazy. So
we talked about this a touch beforehand, but you said today in an interview, you need to relax a little bit and just try to have some fun. This is your last year, and we'll get to that. I saw another interview of a young guy, and I need to focus. It sounds like you're maybe working on finding that balance. Take me through how you kind of prepared yourself to win your driller and the dedication that you put in, because I think the dedication you put into winning your first driller is probably the same dedication you put into your business, your family, everything else, just so people kind of know, what you're all about.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, anything in life you want to do, like, if you want to do it, you got to do it. Like, you can't wait for anybody else to do it for you. And, like, this beer in my hand, like, I haven't had a soda or a beer in 3 months because I was trying to get ready for the shootout because, like, being healthy matters to me. Like, a buddy of mine, Jordan Burnett, like, last year before the shootout, like, I didn't feel like I was ready because I wasn't really racing as much as I had been in years past, and we started training together and we win the shootout. And so, like, I've been training still. Like, I've raced 6 times this year. So, I don't know. I mean, I've always been really serious, but I have a group of guys around me that are fun. So that's a good balance for me. But at the end of the day, like, everybody knows, like, I've just said, like, this is my last shootout. Like, I'm not going to race anymore. Like, there's so many other things that I feel like are more important for me to focus on. And I want to win big races. Like, I think I still can because we have learned so much in the last few years, but it's like, it's only good for me, and it takes so much of me to try to get that ultimate result that I don't think it's fair to the other things that I care about in my life.
Yep.
So, I mean, I dreamed of winning 1 shootout. Winning 2 was freaking absurd. 3 is, 3. And then 4, it's like, what do I got to be upset about? Like, I'm not trying to get to NASCAR.
Yeah. So, okay, I got 2 different things I want to go here, but let's backpedal. You don't want to get to NASCAR, but I think there's a million people out there that think you could have made it at a higher level if that's maybe where your passion was. Maybe it wasn't, but you drove a sprint car for Jason Myers for a while. You were, I felt like, pretty successful to go compete in the California scene.
Yeah.
Just, what's your thought process, your decisions like, why you maybe didn't pursue that harder, or why, that didn't work out?
I mean, if we go back to when I was younger, like, my dad didn't want me in a big car.
Yep.
And there was a couple times in my younger days where I had people come to me and like, hey, I think you should drive a sprint car. Like, I'm going to talk to your dad about it. And I was obviously not an adult yet. And my dad's like, absolutely not. I'll sell the 600. Like, if you're going to go sprint car racing, like, I'm out.
Yep.
That's on you. And so he kind of like clipped my wings. He made me scared that I wasn't going to be able to race anymore. And he made me scared of it. Yep. And to be honest, like, I spent a few years of my adult life like spiteful of it. And he never like told me for real, but we went to Australia and raced and we had success, and they like wrote an article about it, and like everybody knew the connection between Myers and my dad because my dad was Jason's mentor in the micros in the 90s. And they said like, okay, Jason went on to win World of Outlaw championships. Like, do you think your son could have done it? And my dad's like, absolutely, but I didn't want that life for him.
Right.
And I didn't realize that until I had a wife and kids. And I hate being away from my family. Like, it's so important to me. So yeah, did I want to be that guy as a sprint car driver? Like, when Jason gave me the opportunity to run the sprint car, it was going to be a one-time thing.
Yeah.
It was just like, what happened was like, I was at a function and I'm talking to HP Myatt and I'm like, hey man, who's going to run the sprint car next year? Just trying to make conversation. And he's like, we're thinking you. And I'm like, what?
It's like,
you know, and he's like,
blindsided.
yeah, he's like, we're thinking about you. And at the time, Corey Day was running the micro for me a little bit, and we all had a good thing going, and obviously I had a connection with Jason. And I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah. He's like, let's do it. So like, quite a few months went by, and we finally did it. Like, we went and tested, and like I had been telling my wife, like, I don't need to drive a sprint car because, one, I could get hurt in a micro tomorrow, and everybody's gonna be like, man, like, that shouldn't have happened to him.
Yeah.
But if I go and get in a sprint car and get hurt, everybody's like, what's he doing? Like, he didn't need to drive that sprint car.
Okay.
So like, my wife had heard me say that so much. When the opportunity came, I'm like, I don't want to be 65 and not do this.
Yeah.
So we did it, and it was going to be a one-time thing. So we did it, and then like my first night out went second quick.
Yeah.
Like 24 caller field went second quick, and like I could tell you, like, I think that this pay-per-view, like, dude, I was scared shitless. Like, I was sitting and staging, like, don't lift, screw life, just don't lift. And
Yeah.
we ended up running like 7th in the feature, and I came in, I'm like, felt like trash, and like, I'm apologizing, and everybody's like, no, it's fine. Jason calls me that Monday night, he's like, what do you think? And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, like, I feel like I should have done better. And he's like, no, man, you did awesome. Like, I'm looking at the schedule, like, let's do this, let's do that, let's go to Stockton in 3 weeks, let's go to Watsonville. And he's like, then we'll be ready for Trophy Cup. And I'm like, Trophy Cup? So I get off the phone with my wife, or I get off the phone and I look at my wife and I'm like, you wouldn't believe this, like, Jason wants me to keep driving this thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? And she's like, I don't care about you driving a sprint car, but that's not good for us. Like, how are you gonna be one more place?
Yeah.
And like, she was right. Like, micros is what we do.
Yeah.
You know, like, how can I go sprint car racing and then be at a micro track and then be part of my family? So
Yeah.
it was cool that we did it, but
I think that's what, like, I personally admire most about you is how dedicated you are, one, to your family, you know, which it's cool that you're in a position where you know how much your family means to you, and then two, your business. You know, what you've built with Driven, everyone knows how talented you are behind the wheel, but the business you built and the mentality behind your business, and I think your business ethics that we see here at the racetrack is incredible. You know, how do you get to where you build that brand to where Driven is like genuinely a family and not just a parts manufacturer or something like that?
yeah, I don't know. Like, I think you just get surrounded by good people, and you know, you want to.
Poor Chet. we're running Chet ragged here.
I think you just, I don't know, man. It's just, I feel like sometimes people don't think it's real, or like we're putting on a front, or like I've spent a long time like trying to prove myself as a race car driver, and sometimes trying to prove myself as a person. And like if I'm being frank, like how do you keep up an act for that long? You know, like,
Right. There's no way.
I'm just trying to be me and the best version of me, and sometimes it's not the most popular opinion. Like, I'm not out of line, I don't think, but like I try to be as consistent as possible, and sometimes that works for certain people and sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah.
like, I think that's where like the whole Driven mindset comes from, is like, it's a little bit corny, but like it's a mindset, you know, like, and I like to be around people that are motivated and people that see a bigger picture and they're bigger than themselves. Like, I don't know, like I like driving race cars, I like winning races, but I still feel like Driven's way bigger than me, you know?
Yeah. No, it's cool to see what you've built here, and I think your son is probably, you know, the future of you, and maybe not Driven, but he has the opportunities to do what he wants to do. Is he super passionate about racing? Does he want to do other things? You know, how does that happen?
I don't know, man. Like, honestly, like I loved racing growing up, and I was around it just as much as he's around it now, but there was things that I wanted more of, you know, like I wanted nicer race cars, and I wanted a bigger trailer, and I wanted polished fours in my shop, and like my dad didn't care about any of that stuff, but he had nice stuff. But there was certain things that like I just dreamed of, you know.
Yeah.
And now we've done them, and it's like oxygen to my kid. Like he doesn't even think twice about it.
Right.
And so like I know he enjoys, like he loves being here. He loves being at the racetrack. Like when I get out of the car and I do good, like he's got a big smile on his face. And then if I have a bad run, you could tell he's like worried about how I feel. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't quite have that desire himself. And so I just tell him all the time, man, like you don't got to race for me, but I want you to make sure that you put your all into whatever it is that you enjoy, you know? So if it's racing, great. If it's not, like I'll be all in with him on that too. You know, this is my job. I got to be here, but I'll make sure that I'm there for him too.
Yep. One last thing, we're back at the top of the ramp. What would it mean to you to walk up here Sunday night with the 55-lap Outlaw Golden Driller?
Dude, it'd be amazing. Like, do I deserve it? Like, dude, nobody deserves it. Like, you don't walk into this building, like, claiming anything, like, it giveth and it taketh, you know? Yep. So, I would love to, but, dude, there's people that race all year long, every weekend building up to this, and, like, I think about it a lot, but, man, like, I hope, and I'm gonna do my damn best, but if not, like, I'm gonna walk out of here, I got my business, I got my family, I got everything. Like, there's nothing to be ashamed of. So hopefully,
that's a pretty good perspective. That's Jake Copen.
Thanks,
for talking to us, man.
Appreciate it.